What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. The Pittsburgh Steelers just finished up their 2019 NFL season with their Week 17 matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. And this game was pretty ugly. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers were hanging on by a thread. They had to win their game today and then hope that Tennessee lost to the Houston Texans in their game to try and even get in the playoffs. And you know, you guys know we had last week, we had the autonomy, we had the control of our own destiny last week. If we had beaten the Jets and beaten the Ravens today, we would be in the playoffs. We could have controlled our own fate. But the fates were not in our favor today, as not only did the Titans defeat the Texans, who had nothing to play for. The Texans rested their starters. So Tennessee won their game, which made our game not matter anyway, but Pittsburgh also lost to the backup Baltimore Ravens in a pretty pathetic display. Final score was 28-10. The game wasn't even that close, to be honest. It could have been much more lopsided. Pretty much played out like most Steeler games have this season, being that our defense was pretty assertive, had some nice stops, created some turnovers, bent but didn't break, and kept us in the game for most of the game. And then finally, the lack of offense was just too much for us to overcome. And then some sloppy things in the rain made the score a lot worse than it was. Defensively, we allowed 19 points total, one touchdown on a play that should have been stopped, actually, but one touchdown to the running back for Baltimore, Justice Hill, and 4 field goals. So we did allow Baltimore to run the ball very effectively on us on defense. Baltimore did a nice job, even with their backups in there. RG3 didn't do much of anything passing the ball. He was never much of a passing quarterback since his injury after his first season for the Redskins. Hasn't played much since then. I played one season in Cleveland. That was about it. But ran the ball very effectively, ran the read option, ran a very similar style of offense to the regular Lamar Jackson offense. Jackson and the starting running back Mark Ingram did not play in this game, but Gus Edwards is a really good backup running back. He's a very solid guy, and congrats to Baltimore on going 14-2, which is their all-time greatest record, and breaking the all-time rushing record, most rushing yards in a single season. That's a combination of Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, and a few other guys as well, Justice Hill also. So very good rushing team, even with the backups in there. RG3 looked good. Gus Edwards had over 100 yards in this game, ran excellently on us. They made us lose our gaps, lose contain on the edge sometimes. Did a nice job protecting RG3 for the most part in this game. We did get some edge rushing early, but it kind of subsided lately in the game. But for the most part, even though our defense was not quite as good as it usually is, did have some tackling issues, did have a hard time trying to read what Baltimore's offense was doing, so it was a well-called game. They still kept us in the game overall for the most part. The problem was we talked about our offense. I mentioned the defense only allowed 19 total points, but then I said the final score was 28-10. That's because the offense allowed 9 points on their own. They had a defensive touchdown, which was was it a fumble recovery, I believe? Baltimore got, I think it was a fumble recovery from Duck in the end zone. I believe so. Picked up by the Ravens for a touchdown, and then also there was it was the fumble. It was the punt situation. It was Jordan Berry's special teams muff. We'll talk about him in a second. But Jordan Berry dropped the ball in the rain, went to pick it back up, lost it again, fumbled it twice in the same play, and then Baltimore picked it up for a touchdown. And then on the next series, Duck Hodges was hit in the end zone, tried to throw the ball away, got intentional grounding in the end zone, which resulted in a safety. So that we allowed 2 points on offense after only scoring 10. So Pittsburgh's offense was only +8 for the entire game. You're not going to win many games like that. Again, I know it was a nasty game. I know Baltimore has a good defense. I know it was rainy and sloppy on the field, but there's no excuse for some of this stuff. Let's look at the offensive stat line and just let me just tell you how bad these guys were. Duck Hodges, 9 of 25. I'm going to say this again, 9 of 25. Almost 33% completion percentage. 95 passing yards for the entire game. No touchdowns and no picks, but did have a fumble that he lost in this game and had a safety as well. So didn't get any INTs in this game, but did have a safety and a turnover on his back, and no touchdowns to show for himself. Benny Snell was our best player on offense for this game. He gets the only offensive game ball. Got 5.1 yards a carry, 18 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. This was his kind of game, his chance to show off. James Conner once again was injured for this game, did not play in this game, so Benny Snell got almost all the carries. In the sloppy terrain, the running style football, the hard down-nose running, that is Benny Snell's style, and he did so pretty well in this game. Had a couple of nice broken tackle plays, stayed on his feet, kept his balance, got to the edge and made some plays, finished runs hard, did not go down, and scored the Steelers' only touchdown of the game running the ball. So good job today, Benny Snell. Deontay Johnson made a few plays, 4 catches, 54 yards. He was our leader today as a wide receiver. The only wide receiver, I believe, to catch more than 2 balls the entire day. He did also have what I thought was a touchdown catch where he caught the ball high-pointed in the corner of the end zone, drug his one foot, and it seemed like the other one was out of bounds, but I think his second foot touched before the knee went out of bounds. So it was ruled non-catch, and it was not challenged by the Steelers. And that resulted in us getting a field goal in that drive and not a touchdown. So it was worth looking at a challenge. Could have had a better day for Johnson as well. He's played pretty well in his rookie season overall, and I've liked how he's bounced back from a couple rough games in the middle there. Not much today for Juju. I think he had 2 catches. Vance McDonald did actually have 2 catches, including one nice third down conversion. He was actually on the field, 2 catches today. But we have so many problems on this offense to speak of. I don't want to get into the totality of the season too much. I'll save that for like a year-end review. Maybe next week or 2 weeks from now, I'll do like a Steeler wrap-up video as my final one for the season. But quarterback-wise, obviously, Ben got hurt. We traded Josh Dobbs away and mortgaged our future for Mason Rudolph. Mason didn't work out, so that's 2 first-round picks in both Mason and Dobbs that are not the future for us here in Pittsburgh. And then we wound up having to go to a 4th-string preseason cut quarterback, undrafted, in Duck Hodges, and he didn't work out. Both Duck and Mason, once they had a few games under their belt and the league had tape on them and knew what to expect, they picked them off like crazy and got in their heads and just showed off what kind of quarterbacks they were not. So Dobbs is gone now. Mason's not the answer. Duck's not the answer. We need, at the very least, a backup to be the heir apparent to Ben, because even best case scenario, if an old, beat-up, injured Ben comes back and heals next season and plays for us next year against all odds, best case scenario, he's got 1 year left. So we need to find a quarterback for the immediate future, at least to back up Ben for right now and play next season. So that's a big concern for us. Running is a big concern for us. We have not gotten any consistent number 1 runners this year. Snell, Conner, and Jalen Samuels all missed time this year. Conner missed most of the season. Snell proved to be a pass-catching back and not a running back. I'm sorry, Samuels did. Snell has been probably our most consistent back this season, but we need to figure out what we have, if we have any franchise runners, or if we need to find another guy to be a piece in the backfield. And I think it's almost time for the end of the James Conner experiment. As much as I love his story, love his personality, love his work ethic, and love his play on the field when he's out there, like I said last week, he's never out there. The best ability is availability. Wide receivers haven't gotten open nearly enough this season. Juju's missed a lot of time. Washington and Johnson have been solid all year, but they haven't gotten the separation they've needed. Switzer wound up being a bust. Holton can't run any routes and can't catch. What do we have on offense receiver-wise? I mean, we have a trio in Juju, Washington, and Johnson, but are they really getting separation? Are they really getting an opportunity? And how much of this goes into lack of running game, lack of quarterback play, inaccurate quarterbacks, and how much of it is them not getting separation? So that's some questions for us at wide receiver. Tight end, obviously, we have to address because Vance McDonald's always hurt, and Nick Van Nett has been serviceable but not special as a second tight end. Is Zach Gentry going to develop or not? Is Grimble still going to even be on the team? Is there a reason for him? The offensive line is played down this year. It's been one of their weaker years in the last several. Pouncey fell off a little bit. Finney's been inconsistent. So I don't know what we have on the offensive line. Thankfully, on defense, we had some good numbers today in spite of the 19 points, which was a little too much. But T.J. Watt, once again, a half sack and a forced fumble. He's been incredible. He is tied for forced fumbles and I think overall turnovers this year as the lead. He should be Defensive Player of the Year. He had a big game. Also a batted ball. He's got to stop jumping off sides, though, on those snap counts. He jumps off a lot. But other than that, he's been amazing. Forcing fumbles, recovering fumbles, sacks. he's been our splash player this season. Cam Hayward, 1.5 sacks, big year for him, good game for him. Mike Hilton, 0.5 sack, coming off the edge again. He's one of the best blitzing corners in the league. As a slot corner, he's a very effective blitzer and tackler. Had a good game. Dupree, 0.5 sacks today. That puts him, I think, at 11 sacks for the year. That's a career high. He's had a career year, and we have a big decision to make. He's our biggest free agent coming up this offseason, and to decide whether we want to re-sign him or not, whether it's worth the money to try and juggle him and juggle other players as well. Who do you want to re-sign there? Devin Bush, 11 tackles in this game. He was all over the field. His speed and tackling ability is nice. He does have to read his gaps a little better, though, and not miss at critical times. His coverage and his gap reads are a little bit off still, but his tackling and speed is just an unteachable skill. Joe Hayden also got an interception at the end of the game. It was garbage time. It didn't matter, but Hayward batted a ball up in the air, and Hayden picked it off, so he's had his best season as a Steeler. So a lot of quality guys on this team, a lot of guys playing pretty well. Even a lot of times 19 points is not that much, even though it's one of our season highs since this defense has become galvanized, but that's too much for this offense to overcome. Special teams, like I said, Jordan Berry fumbling a ball, picking it back up, fumbling it again, getting a touchdown on this team. He's had an up and down season. There's times where he looks great with 60-yard punts, and there's times where he makes bonehead plays like trying to run the ball on 4th down when there's no fake called, losing the ball like this. He's had some really bad moments, shanked a few punts, so he's someone to look at in the offseason as well. Also, kick return coverage, offensively and defensively. So not our best game, not our best way to go out. Pretty pathetic performance against a backup Baltimore Ravens team when we're playing for our season and they're playing for nothing. So we lose to a backup team 28-10 with our season on the line. Congrats, Tennessee. I hope you guys beat New England next week. I'm cheering for you. This ends a pretty rough season. We finish 8-8, which is, I guess, better than we had any business being, considering we lost Brown, we lost Bell in the offseason. We played most of the season without Connor, half the season without Juju, all the season without Ben. So you got to think, with playing a bunch of backups, 8-8's not too bad. But when you got a chance for the playoffs, you want to make those playoffs and you want to capitalize. We were 8-5 3 weeks ago, and we lost to a backup Baltimore team and a Jets team in these last 2 weeks, and also lost the game we could have won against a good Buffalo team. So 3 bad losses there to end the season is not a lot to build on. But this defense is special, and we have a chance. If we can stay healthy and get the right guys in there next season on offense, we can be special. Also, let's fire Randy Fichtner. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for an awesome season. Thank you for all the views and comments. I appreciate all the back and forth. I love talking to you guys. I love reviewing these games for you guys. I wish I had more games to review for the Steelers next week, but alas, this brings our 2019 football-focused Steelers season of reviews to an end. I will talk to you guys soon. And if you guys want to see more Steeler videos in this offseason and have topics for me to talk about, please post them in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys next season. Thank you. Take care.